As you've heard this morning, it's 40 years since French Secret Service agents sunk the Greenpeace vessel Rainbow Warrior in Auckland Harbour. A commemoration service has been held this morning and we'll cross live there to the Greenpeace boss Russell Norman a little later in the program. But first, Margaret Mills was a cook on board the Rainbow Warrior at the time of the bombing and is joining us from Waiheke Island this morning. Margaret, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with me. Tell me, what were you doing on board the Rainbow Warrior?
Well, I was a cook, so I was cooking. And so I was only a relief cook. I had only been there 3 days. I wasn't one of the regular crew.
So you've come on board, you're not that familiar with it, and I've had a little read of your book. You know, you were out to get supplies and get things ready for the crew. Tell us about the night that the bombing happened. What was the first you knew of it?
First I knew of it was when I heard a loud bang and I woke up. I'd been asleep for quite some time because it had been a fairly interesting, very interesting 3 days up till then, and there'd been the sort of tail end of a birthday party and things, and I was very, very tired.
Were you a bit hungover, Margaret?
No, I drink after I've cooked, not during.
Okay, so you're tired, you're sleeping, and then you're woken up in the middle of the night.
Yes, and I tried to turn the light on in the cabin, and it didn't go on. I couldn't find my glasses. I'm blind without them. So I staggered across to the door, opened it, and there the ship's doctor was there, and he said, "You still here? We've been bombed." Well,
So
I just laughed at him. I laughed at him. I said, "We don't have bombs in New Zealand. This is, very non-sort of bombing sort of country." And he said, "Oh, come on," and he dragged me up, and the radio operator was sort of coming and picking me up, and I had the next cabin to Fernando, and I do recollect that his door was shut.
Different.
Anyway, we went up and just stepped on board onto the deck when the second bomb went off, and I'm still blind and groping around, and but I did notice that the captain was standing there with no clothes on. So I commented on his figure. I told him I didn't know that he was so hunky, and then
Margaret, you're in the middle of a terror attack and you're thinking about how hunky someone is.
Well, wouldn't you?
Probably.
Yeah.
Margaret, just coming back to, you mentioned Fernando, that door that was closed, that's significant because the man inside there died in the second bombing, right?
I'm very aware of that.
Did you know him well?
Well as you can know people in 3 days when you're never talking to them one-on-one, except he was very explicit about the sort of bread that I wanted him to go and buy for him.
So you all got off, you eventually got off the vessel and, after the first explosion, and then did people go back before the second bomb went off?
I think Davey went back down to the engine room just to check on the engine room because he, I suppose being an engineer, he'd imagine he really think that something had gone wrong there. But I don't think anyone else went back on board. They didn't have time.
Margaret, it's been 40 years. Does it still make you emotional looking back on it now?
I'm not a very emotional person, but yes, I do think about it every year. So, I am not a weeping woman. So.
And what do you think about when you reflect on it?
Basically, I just I think about the people that I met there. It was a changed my whole life, being thrown in the company of a lot of people who were either 15 or 20 years younger than me, who all became my friends. So it took me back a generation, which was quite fun.
And Margaret, how do you feel about the French special agents? There's a new podcast coming out that speaks to, from the Herald, that speaks to one of these agents in English, and he describes, what he did, how he did it on the night of the bombings and in the days leading up to it. How do you feel about them?
Well, I think that they were given a job to do and they had to do it. And I did see one interview with the guys that actually put it was a French one who had actually placed the bomb on the ship and bombs on the ship, and they had themselves wandering around New Zealand in a tour with a touring party, and they just went back to their hotel and carried on with their tour, and we never heard about them for years and years later. And the one who was interviewed said it was the thing that he had done that he had regretted the most in his life. Well, I can believe that, but it's a very strange situation. I've never blamed people anywhere, including us, for what the governments do.
Here before, I hadn't seen the news set up.
Margaret, it's an incredible story, and you've captured your whole 95 naughty years in a book, which we're holding up on our screen now. And I do say naughty because there's something about you that says naughty, Margaret. Margaret Mills.
You're calling me naughty? Come on. Not now.
Former cook on the Rainbow Warrior and the first 95-year-old that we've had on the show. So congratulations for that, Margaret. And you can buy a copy of Margaret's new book, Anecdotage, from the website inkproductions.co.nz. Just head there and click on store. Margaret, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We really appreciate your time.